Welcome back. Well, taking a look at the state of the policy and some of the policies and suggestions, we've got Sani Usman, as you've seen there, former spokesperson of the PDP campaign, presidential campaign council. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, yeah, different policies. Yeah, so we've heard and seen the governors of the PDP did meet, suggesting certain operations be altered, economic policies be reviewed for better results. But one wonders, perhaps just benefit of hindsight or looking back at how things have been before now, do you think the party reflects on possibly saying, well, for instance, they spoke about the operations of the NNPC, how they think that, some policies of the operations not exactly going well. And we also do remember that there was this conference and several calls trying to see how they could restructure or rearrange institutions for better performance. Do you think perhaps with the benefit of hindsight, they think, well, who knows, if we had taken certain steps about the economics, the policies, we may have been functioning perhaps differently, if not better today, all of what's going on notwithstanding?
Yes, I think what the PDP governors are trying to say, putting it succinctly, is that the economy as it is now is non-functional. It is not carrying the necessary mechanisms that will make the economy function very well. Those institutions that are supposed to give bite to the economy, are not functioning as it should. The Central Bank of Nigeria, the NNPC, and so forth and so on. So what we are saying in general is that the NNPC should remit optimally what it is due to the Federation account. The CBN should also perform its statutory functions as it should, so that monies accruable to the states will be functional and will give the necessary impetus for the economy to thrive. We are in a situation now where everything within the economy is not functioning as it should. And that is very important, that the economy should be allowed to function optimally. That way, it will give room for states and other tiers of government, states and local government, to function well, because what is due to them will be given to them, and they will be able to spend and remove the Nigerians from the current poverty situation that we are facing. Some of these things are not far-fetched. They are not very difficult to address. But unfortunately, the APC-led government is not doing enough to ensure that they put all these machineries and all these institutions in proper perspective, that they should perform their constitutionally assigned roles within the polity.
Part of what I was trying to refer to. Yeah, but part of what I was trying to refer to is, I remember at that time, former President Yar'Adua tried to unbundle the NNPC into 5 companies at that time, saying, look, they needed to get it a lot more functional moving forward. So I thought that was what I was asking, benefits of hindsight, perhaps if that had happened, don't you think that perhaps, who knows, we may have been performing way beyond what you say is not going on right?
Yeah, if you take a look, even when the APC government came, what they said was that the PDP was using the NNPC as a cash cow, and that they were going to unbundle it. It is now practically almost impossible for the law to unbundle the NNPC to be effective. Up till now, there is no any tangible move to actualize the petroleum industry bill, that will unbundle the NNPC and make the petroleum industry, very functional and very competitive. it is still a monopoly. It is still the way they have said they have met it, and they are even making it more worse with the way they are running the NMPC. So I think unbundling it and making it more operational, more competitive, more challenging, will give room for other players outside the industry, or who are within the industry to come in fully and participate. And by that, it will make it much more productive to our economy.
In terms of the states and their performance, job creation in different states, there are those who always ask that, look, what is the impediment? Why is it that states don't seem to be taking the bull by the horn and ensure that they ramp up the environment and job creation opportunities for residents in those states, that there are enough policies to ensure that they actually do that and jumpstart their own economy in their own way?
You see, the problem we're having is that most states look at job creation as if they will take from their statutory allocations and from their internally generated revenue to fund or to pay salaries and wages. Try as they may, that is not the general policy. First, the environment must be good for investments. When there are a lot of investors, job opportunities are created. And how do you, make ease of doing business very acceptable? You try to reduce all this on the costs associated with doing business. Now, if the cost of land, the cost of labor, the cost of all the necessary costs are high, how would investors come in and invest? More so when there is no power and one has to do, what he has to do to generate power and to use power. It becomes highly very impossible. So states naturally ought to have gone into other ventures that they will key in a lot of people. And that venture perhaps, includes agriculture, in various segments, and other ventures that are very important. They can also, partner with, very big, very influential business people who will now come in, to come and invest in the state and ensure that jobs are created. The more the jobs are created, the more the economy improves. For instance, when railways is the job of railway in the federal government, for instance, from Lagos to Ibadan, a minimum of about 2,000 people have been employed. And within that period, the multiplier effect will be that, quite a lot of people will gain from such development. So it is very important that the states should key in, not to always look at income and expenditure and say, okay, we are not doing well here, we are doing well here, and then we will not spend much money here, or we will spend money here. Now, if the states are not mindful of the problems, the poverty level of their states, they will naturally make their states look like a business concern. And essentially, the responsibility of government is for the welfare and security of the people.
Yeah, just for a moment. Earlier, when you started to talk about, in response to Chamberlain's question, you were talking about insecurity and enabling environment and all of that. What do you think the governors can do about that? And are you saying that the governors are helpless completely? Because sincerely, when you started talking, it sounded like you were making excuses for the governors.
No. Naturally, I wasn't making excuses for the governors. The governors are, of course, expected to perform statutory responsibilities. However, most of them are hiding under the fact that what they are getting from statutory allocations, from the federation account, and what they get from their internally generated revenue has to be spent, it has to be in tandem with their spending. Now, that is where the crux of the matter is. The point is that government is not a business. Now, in business, you look at profit and loss. However, in governance, you look at the welfare of the people, what is very paramount. Now, most governors now are looking at what can generate money than what can, contribute to the positive life of the people. So I'm not making any excuses for them. I'm saying that they should also beam their satellite on other issues that are very relevant and very important in the, in ensuring that poverty is alleviated or is completely banished, and that the people, have an enabling environment to thrive, to do business, to, for jobs to be created, for people to be able to go out and earn their daily living and so forth and so on. So governors have a huge role to play. However, I'm not also saying that they should rely only on federal government. They should also look inwards. Now, there are so many things that are untapped within the states that the governors can look into and find ways and means to ensure that their people benefit from such untapped potentials. Now, these are the very fundamental issues that we should follow, religiously to ensure that our people,
Of this information, some of these opportunities that you talk about are even unknown to some of the people, because the policies may be there. You know that many people are not aware of so many laws, enabling laws that can help them to take advantage of opportunities in their immediate environment. You've mentioned agriculture. Are there other opportunities that you think people should be taking advantage of, especially in the various states where they reside?
Yeah, it depends on what the natural resources of the state. If, for instance, a state like Ondo has a lot of bitumen, where other states, they are endowed with natural resources. Zamfara State has gold. Kaduna State, has gold in Benungwari, about 2,000 tons of gold, and so forth and so on. So, when you apply for license from the federal government, official mining can take place. And so there are so many opportunities. Apart from even natural resources, there are other, resources that one can, endeavor to use, in terms of land, labor, and so forth and so forth. So it is left for the, the investor to look at which is the best place for him to invest. For instance, if you want to do some farming, Jigawa State, Kano State, and the rest are very good fertile grounds for this. Now, if you want to maybe you need land for developments, estate, real estate, and so forth and so on, there are certain states, for instance, Kaduna, whose proximity or continuity is closer to Abuja. You can build houses so that people can live in Kaduna and use the train to go to Abuja to work and so forth. So these are areas where people can key in, and make life bearable for the ordinary person.
Okay,
Because
let's talk about
the
some
cost of
other.
living in Abuja is high.
Yeah, let's talk about some other another level of conversation of this conversation. Talking about collaboration. I think it was 2019 or thereabout, or 20. I'm not very sure exactly when now. The president made that suggestion, that commitment that he wants 100 million Nigerians lifted out of poverty over 10 years. And he said it would happen in collaboration with the states. Now, the federal government says it has pulled out 10.5 million, 10.2 million people out of poverty over the past 2 years or thereabout. The question I'd like to ask you is, in terms of collaboration, how do you see it happening? Do you even see it happening significantly? Now, when you talked about mineral resources, there is no way that's going to happen without the collaboration of the federal and state government. It's actually quite ironic because the land is under the purview of the governors, but the mineral resources under that ground is in the purview of the federal government. So collaboration there, therefore, has to happen. How do you see that collaboration happening? Do you think it's happening well enough, significantly enough, impactfully enough? If not, what do we need to do?
You see, number one, let me set the record straight. It is very difficult to understand the parameters that the federal government has used to say that they have lifted 10.5 million people out of poverty. Whatever parameters it is, it should also be noted that if 10.5 million people have been lifted out of poverty, another 10.5 or 20.5 million have also already gone into poverty, because there is no way that in this spiraling economy where money, everything that is going continuously up every day. You cannot wake up today and say, okay, let me go and buy pure water 10 naira. And you are sure that you are going to get it at 10 naira. You may be shocked to go and meet it at 20 or 30 naira. So how could you have lifted anybody out of such a debilitating situation within the country where people are finding it difficult to even feed? Now, coming to your point, it is also instructive for us to understand that it is difficult per se for mining to take place without the active collaboration of the federal government, because mining licenses are only obtained from the federal government, even though land belongs to the states. However, such collaboration can actually take place. For instance, I just read that the Zamfara state governor has set up a task force to ensure that illegal mining doesn't take place in Zamfara state. Now, if that task force is able to conclude its assignment and to ensure that illegal mining doesn't take place, then Zamfara state government can collaborate with the federal government. If they want to engage in mining, or they have investors in mining, or that other investors are interested in mining, Zamfara state government can assist the investors if they are given the prospective license to come to Zamfara state, and they will show them all the necessary things to do so that they will start official mining, and then the people of the state and even people outside the state who are Nigerians will benefit from such a venture. So I am of the opinion that we should put a lot of our money in trying to find out areas where our people will benefit in terms of investment. Let me give you one specific example, where when the former president of the the present president of the African Development Bank, when he was Minister of Agriculture, he was the first person to have brought in to improve the rice capacity of Kebbi State by ensuring that investors come to invest in rice mills in Kebbi and in Taraba states. Americans were there in Taraba to invest in rice mills. So, even the milling, was also an industry. From one mill in Kebbi, it became about 26 before he left. Now, that is to tell you that with 26 rice mills, the job opportunity has now increased, because there are 26 mills that are milling the rice that is being produced in Kebbi State. And so a lot of people are gainfully engaged, and they are now producing this rice, which is now permeating the country. You can imagine, Kebbi State, at the inception of this administration,
right,
where they were partnering with Lagos State to ensure that they bring rice to Lagos.
Well, Mr. Umar, I'd like us to also touch on security, because I know it's related to anything economy and, in fact, the success of any nation. And part of the things the PDP governor said is that they're asking for decentralization of the operations of security apparatus. And it sounded like a response to the president when he said that, the governors should fix the security in their state. That's why they were elected. And he asked that what happened to the grassroots security panels and the rest. And like I said, he asked the governors to go back and fix those systems. So it appears as though the president's idea of how things should work regarding security is quite different from what the PDP governors are saying should be done with security. The question lies, which one is the way forward, really?
You see, the issue of security is a very complex one. while the governors are left with GOCs within their states. They are left with commissioners of police within their states. They are left with directors of SSS or DSS within their states. You know, some very key security apparatuses within their states. They do not have power to direct them to do anything. If they direct them, they will have to look for authority from their boss, who is also answerable to the president and commander-in-chief. That is where the security issue is of paramount concern. Now, the governors is not as if they are incapable of addressing these issues. However, the slow pace at which they will have to now call for a security meeting, which is normally weekly, to review the security situation in their respective states, they will also have to now seek the cooperation of the relevant agency. If it is the army will now, the GOC will now have to contact the chief of army staff, who will now have to contact Mr. President, who will now give the necessary directive as to what ought to have been done or what is to be done. Now, if what the governor is thinking of how to operate within the state is different from what the president is thinking, then there is a problem. There is a lacuna. So there has to be somewhere that they must agree on certain measures that has to be taken to ensure that security is properly addressed. This type of, and of course, other issues that come up is the lack of synergy between security agencies. Now, everybody is competing for himself. Now, the police don't want the DSS to know what they are doing. The DSS don't want the police to know what they are doing. The army wants to be independent from other security agencies and so forth and so on. So it becomes very difficult if there is no synergy for them to put their heads together to ensure that people are adequately secured. So the governors, in essence, are saying clearly that if you want us to function optimally, then give us the necessary impetus. Otherwise, constitutionally, statutorily, you are responsible for securing Nigeria. Our job is only to assist you. And in assisting you, we have been doing it. We have been giving maybe vehicles. We have been giving all the necessary tools for the security agencies to function optimally within our states. However, we don't have the power.
Okay, then. All right, Mr. Umar, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Well, back in a moment. Don't go away.